Crown of the Realm. All Things Impossible, Book 1. Written by D. Dalton. Narrated by Lauren Ezzo. Prologue. Betrayed by his own parents. Prince Edelon opened his mouth to roar, but the words constricted in his throat. He couldn't breathe. His lips were parting, but no air was passing through. The elf reeled for balance as his gaze fell up to the sky. The sun was incandescent. He felt weightless, soaring, and he found the strength to inhale again. He bunched his fists and stamped the heels of his boots against the paving stones. "How dare you!" His auburn-haired younger brother, Alsalon, pressed against his side. Edelon was on the cusp of adulthood, but his brother was barely into adolescence. Tears rolled down Alsalon's cheeks as the two of them faced off against their mother and father. They were in the palace's largest garden, full of towering trees, atop one of its towers. Edelon screamed, "How can you do this to us? Because we won't leave you!" "You will!" King Valadin's voice left echoes fading throughout the garden. Edelon realized that his father had never looked so regal before, or so sorrowful. His fair hair shimmered like the sunlit prairie, lighting the platinum crown on his head, and his sea-blue eyes stirred with the power of 1,000 storms. Edelon gulped. He would not see this again. He wondered if he could ever be that extraordinary, and he hurled out a prayer that he would never have to find out. He'd been chasing his laughing brother around Grandfather Oak and through the trees. And now... Valadin raised his hand toward the path through the trees. "You will escape, my sons. You have a chance. Meet your guards and do not tarry." Edelon collapsed to his knees. His throat ached with words he could not force out. His dark-haired mother stole his gaze. She was weeping too, but no panic marred her beauty, only grief. Alsalon rushed forward into their parents' arms. "I don't want to leave you." He was trying to blink away his tears, but Edelon saw him trembling. "Family is all I have." It took all of Edelon's strength to wheeze those words. His gaze was too heavy to lift. "You have an entire kingdom of family, son," his father whispered. "No!" He pounded his fist against the grass. "Please! We'll all run! Everyone in our lands can run! If we can make it, so can you! Father! Mother, please!" Valadin smiled gently, but his eyes creased in sadness. "I wish it could be so." Tears scorched Edelon's cheeks. "Give them the kingdom. It's not worth this. Please." Valadin rested a hand on his head. "It is our kingdom that needs to be saved." He stepped back. "You must succeed. Your duty is to deliver our people. I regret leaving this to you, but fate has spoken." The prince bit his tongue so hard he tasted blood, but he said nothing. Dying thoughts echoed. How could they give up? How dare they leave this impossible task to me? But they floated away as numbness overtook him. Their mother spread her hands out toward them. "I pray that your lives are eternal, full of love and joy." Edelon remained kneeling and staring at the grass. How could she say something so hollow? How could she lie? But his voice was low as he answered, "I accept your blessing, Mother." Now he had lied too. She stepped back to stand beside their father. "Go, my sons." He stumbled to his feet, but kept his gaze downcast. Against his will, he nodded. "We love you," Valadin whispered. "We love you too." Alcelon tripped as he dashed forward and buried himself in their arms again. Valadin and his wife did not return the embrace, and instead swept him back toward Edelon. "Forever will you sing the first songs," they recited. "Forever," the brothers' voices faltered at the same time. "Now, go," Valadin commanded. They bowed low and long before turning away. Edelon did not look back, but his brother kept his face turned over his shoulder as they disappeared behind the trees. Alone in the tower garden, the queen sagged against her husband. "Oh, my love, this is all they've ever known." Her slender frame seemed so fragile to Valadin as he wrapped his arm around her. "I know, Thea." He buried his face in her hair and held her as he watched where the boys had disappeared. The shadows of the trees moved against the paving stones as the sun drifted overhead. Daylight's warmth waned against his skin, and the air heated to a damp, slimy feel. Shadows stretched and bloated, snaking out across the garden. Valadin glanced skyward. The sun was still shining, but it appeared as if a greasy film had been pulled over it. The garden faded to gray, to those ashen seconds between dusk and darkness when colors leached away from the world. The storm reader's light. He studied the muted garden as the tree branches lowered and their now gray leaves withered. He felt his own heartbeat slow. At least Thea was still warm against him. A voice as smooth as silk sliced through the oily air, but to the king's ears it sounded like the scraping of a whetstone. "You surrender your lives." Valadin turned toward the direction of the voice. "We do." The words hissed through his teeth as the polluted air drew the very breath out of him. He held his wife closer. A chuckle spilled out from the shadows. "Very well." The voice slid closer. "I want you to know we already have your people on the run across your lands, which are burning so brightly." Valadin narrowed his eyes, trying to pierce his gaze into the shadows. "Your victory here is only a small one. Our children live freely." "Until we find them," the voice retorted. "And we will. Call it payback for what you did to our children." The voice calmed to a thoughtful tone. "You know, we earned our agelessness, unlike you. And you never respected that achievement. Your rise to immortality was a mistake of history, one I thought we had corrected." The king straightened his shoulders. "Now stop gloating and do what you came to do." Thea took his hand as Valadin dropped his crown to the ground. It rang out as it crashed onto the stones. She kissed him. In that kiss, he was unsure of the exact moment he expired.